This card goes right along with what I was thinking before I even sat down. Of course, it goes along with what I talked about in my video yesterday. It's time to let the magic in, and we talked about that not too long ago, and this is obviously a reminder that there's more that needs to occur. And sometimes we are trying to hold it together, hold it together, hold it together, hold it together. We're almost there. Hold it together, hold it together, hold it together. And sometimes really what you just need is to break open. You just need to let it break. Whatever that is, let it break. And then things will start to be able to mend together, right? Sometimes in the case of severe breaks that have started to heal wrong, the doctors will re-break them and then set them properly so that way they can heal the way that they're meant to, so they can be functional again. And this is a time where there's something in your life that is trying to break. It's eclipse season. The eclipse is, I think, tomorrow. The full moon eclipse is tomorrow. It's going to be seen by 85% of the world or something like that. And so there's a lot of us that are going through something right now. And of course, you can see that anywhere, right? You can see it on the news. You can see it in your social media feeds, in your day-to-day interactions with people. People are tired. People are hurting. And it's time for something to break. We need it to break so that way we can fix it. I mentioned the other day that I had watched the Katrina documentary, and they were talking about, everything was fine until the levees broke, right? And then everything went haywire. And they're still in the process, even 20 years later, of trying to rebuild the things that were lost. And even though it was a huge tragedy, and there's still ongoing tragedy in that region, the levee was the physical manifestation of that break needing to happen, because there were so many things that were broken in New Orleans. And without the levees breaking, they may have been able to hold on and keep holding on and, putting Band-Aids on it and thinking that things were going to be okay, right? But sometimes that flood needs to happen, and it needs to come through so that way it can wash away all of that shit, so that way you can get down to really what's the bare bones of it. Really, what is it that I'm looking at here? What am I trying to do with myself, my life, with those around me? And be able to get that mend going, right? When you think of, there's a lamp right there that is a mosaic, right? It's a bunch of different pieces, and it's put together beautifully. But if those pieces hadn't been broken or separated in a way that made it come together that way, that lamp wouldn't exist. And so right now is the time for you to think of your life that way. There's something that's trying to break. You need to let that break occur. The break in the relationship, you need to trust that your body's going to take care of you too. So let the breakdown in health or health care happen, because it's going to propel you forward. There's some people that talk about car accidents, in hindsight. That was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it broke them down in a way that made them really reevaluate their lives and be able to put together something wonderful. There was a guy that I worked with that got into a motorcycle accident and lost the bottom half of both of his legs. And he had a really hard time. I remember him being very depressed and angry. He was so angry. And when he finally started to actually heal emotionally, he was able to get his life together. And before he had the accident, he was surviving, but he wasn't thriving. And after he healed from his accident, got his prosthetics, got his special vehicle, he was able to focus on what he really wanted, and he began a barbecue business. And I remember speaking to him months later, and he was like, I thought that accident was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And he said, and it was, but he's like, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because look where I am now. Look what I have now. And he